Good morning, everyone. Uh, Thank you for joining this morning for this satsang. We will start this satsang. Let's start ourselves with a prayer. We will do a few chants, a short meditation, and then Praneeta and myself will share some inspiration. Very happy to be joining all of you this morning. So let's start with a prayer. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great Gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, Paramahansa Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow before all of you. Divine Mother, teach us the mystery of our existence. Teach us to worship Thee. In the fire of our devotion, burn all our ignorance. In the stillness of our soul, come to us. Make us aware in and around us Thine immortal presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let's do a few chants. I invite everyone to join me, sing along with me. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Brahmanandam Parama Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrasham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satgurum Tvam Namami. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dramidam Tvamevo Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? Who is in my temple? All the doors to open themselves, all the lights to light themselves, all the doors to open themselves, all the lights to light themselves. Darkness like a dark flies away, flies away. कौन है मेरे मंदिर में, कौन है मेरे मंदिर में, द्वार खुले सब अपने आप, दीप जले सब अपने आप, द्वार खुले सब अपने आप, दीप जले सब अपने आप, अंधेरा काले पंछी समान, दूर उड़े ओ दूर उड़े, अंधेरा काले पंछी समान, दूर उड़े ओ दूर उड़े। कौन है मेरे मंदिर में, कौन है मेरे मंदिर में, द्वार खुले सब अपने आप, दीप जले सब अपने आप, द्वार खुले सब अपने आप, दीप जले सब अपने आप, अंधेरा काले पंछी समान, दूर उड़े ओ दूर उड़े, अंधेरा काले पंछी समान, दूर उड़े ओ दूर उड़े। कौन है मेरे मंदिर में, कौन है मेरे मंदिर में, द्वार खुले सब अपने आप, दीप जले सब अपने आप, द्वार खुले सब अपने आप, दीप जले सब अपने आप, अंधेरा काले पंछी समान, दूर उड़े ओ दूर उड़े, अंधेरा काले पंछी समान, दूर उड़े ओ दूर उड़े, अंधेरा काले पंछी समान, दूर उड़े ओ दूर उड़े। This next chant we will take into a meditation. Do not dry the ocean of my love. Do not dry the ocean of my love. Do not dry the ocean of my love. In the fires of my desires, in the fires of my restlessness. For thee I cry, for thee I weep, for thee I cry, for thee I weep. I'll cry no more, thou art mine evermore. I'll cry no more, thou art mine evermore. Thee I find behind the fringe of my mind. Thee I find behind the fringe of my mind. Hide no more, Lord, hide no more. Leave me not, Lord, leave me no more. Do not dry the ocean of my love. Do not dry the ocean of my love. In the fires of my desires, in the fires of my restlessness. For thee I cry, for thee I weep, for thee I cry, for thee I weep. I'll cry no more, thou art mine evermore. I'll cry no more, thou art mine evermore. Thee I find behind the behind the fringe of my mind. Hide no more, Lord, hide no more. Leave me not, Lord, leave me no more. Do not dry the ocean of my love. Do not dry the ocean of my love in the fires of my desires, in the fires of my restlessness. For thee I cry, for thee I weep, for thee I cry, for thee I weep. I'll cry no more, thou art mine evermore. I'll cry no more, thou art mine evermore. Thee I find behind the fringe of my mind. Thee I find behind the fringe of mine. Hide no more, Lord, hide no more. Leave me not, Lord, leave me no more. Hide no more, Lord, hide no more. Leave me not, Lord, leave me no more. With those words, let's do a meditation for about 10 minutes. At the end of that meditation, Sunny will end that meditation with an affirmation. As we continue to meditate, just try to tune into those words, and as we just sang, thee I find behind the fringe of my mind. God, the presence is not very far, just behind the fringe of our mind. The moment we're able to cross that boundary of the limited understanding, limitations of our minds, we find it. See if we can connect to that presence in this meditation for the next 10 minutes.
Keeping our eyes closed, let's do the affirmation on truthfulness for this week. Let's first listen to words by Swami Kriyananda ji. Truthfulness is not caustic statements of unpleasant facts and unflattering opinions. Such statements are usually born of pride, but truthfulness is the effort always to see the divine truth behind appearances. It is the effort to express always that aspect of truth which may prove the most beneficial. Truthfulness, as applied to ourselves, means not to hide behind self-flattering justifications, to look honestly at our real motives for doing anything, and not to flinch before unpleasant realities in ourselves. Truthfulness means seeing things as they really are, but then looking more deeply for ways to improve those realities. We'll now do the affirmation. Keep your eyes closed. Gaze at the point between the eyebrows. We'll do this loudly together first, more and more quietly, whispering, and then mentally. Repeat loudly after me. Whatever is simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Whatever is simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Whatever is simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth, knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Whispering now, whatever is, simply is. Whatever is, simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth. Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Mentally now, taking it deep into the superconscious, whatever is, simply is. I cannot change it for the mere wishing. Fearlessly, therefore, I accept the truth. Knowing that at the heart of everything, God's truth is always good. Listen silently to these words of prayer. Heavenly Father, I will not fear the truth, for I know that truth comes from Thee. Help me to see behind all appearances Thy smiling, all compassionate gaze. Om.
Good morning. My name is Praneeta, and Our topic for satsang today is the inner kingdom. Let us start by the reading from the Rays of the One Light by Swami Kriyananda on the inner kingdom. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhans Yogananda. Most people imagine that the inner kingdom, as Jesus described it, lacks the fascination they attribute to sense life, the bright lights, the diverse attractions, the joys and the laughter. Little do they realize what a vast universe exists in their own selves. There are many passages in the Old and New Testaments of the Bible that describe aspects of this inner kingdom. In the book of Genesis, we read, "And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil." This garden was no earthly place. It exists even now, in the very self of every human being. The legend of Adam and Eve is allegorical. It describes how the first human beings dissipated their spiritual energy centered in the spine. The spine is the channel through which flows the river of baptism of spiritual life. The Bhagavad Gita tells us, "The wise speak of an eternal Ashwath tree with its roots above and branches below." The tree of life, spoken also in Genesis, is the spine. Its roots are above in the brain's energy. Its branches are outward spreading nervous system. When the sap, which is to say the energy, flows downward, the consciousness is drawn into delusion. On the other hand, when the energy is drawn upward in meditation, the consciousness is drawn towards its eternal source, God, and is at last united with him. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita therefore urges his chief disciple Arjuna to embrace the yoga science, the path of meditation. The yogi, he says, is greater than the ascetic, greater even than the followers of the paths of wisdom, Jnana Yoga, or of action, Karma Yoga. Be thou, O Arjuna, a yogi. For those who would find the divine truth, Krishna gives this description of the yogi. Steadfast as a lamp burns, sheltered from the wind, steadfastly meditating, solitary. Such is the likeness of the yogi's mind, shut from sense storms and burning bright to heaven. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. In this beautiful reading, we heard about this inner kingdom. Does that garden even exist? Many people who think this could be pretty impractical. And to those who do, there is a reminder, a beautiful reminder in this story of Dr. Lewis, Master's first disciple. Dr. Lewis, a dentist by profession, while he was a devout Christian and reading the Bible, he was driven by the scientific mind. His profession was such that he was driven by the scientific mind and did not really know whether there was really an inner kingdom, the light that we speak of. So in his very first appointment with Master Paramhans Yogananda ji, Master touched his forehead to his and he saw that light. That experience changed him forever. What this story really tells us is that there is that inner kingdom. that light that we are all seeking. But do all of us really see that light in our everyday life? And for those who are lucky and do see it, it's probably not an everyday phenomenon. And why is this? This is because the pull of Maya, the delusion that we heard of in this reading, is pulling us in all directions. I sit down to meditate with my phone buzzing. Sometimes there is a WhatsApp that keeps coming. I am sure that of all the attendees here, no one is part of less than at least 10 WhatsApp groups that keep pouring in information from all over. What do I need to cook today? Did my friend get the vaccine that she or he was looking for? We're pulled in all directions. But as these stories that many of our gurus have told us and sages all over the world have told us, that if we stay centered in our spine, if we stay within our inner kingdom, miracles are actually waiting to happen. And there are so many of these stories. Let's relate to a few, starting with this beautiful one of Swamiji skiing. Was there anything Swami Kriyananda couldn't do? I actually wonder. So he tells us of one of his skiing experience where he was on the slopes of a glacier skiing, and there was another woman who was a beginner and trying to ski, trying to learn actually. So she would get up, remember all the instructions that were told to her, put her foot out with her apparatus, try her first step, fall down. Then she would get up. Of course, she wasn't giving up. She would get up, try again. Same thing. Sometimes she would move a little further up, but in the end, again fall down. She kept trying, and Swami kept observing what she was doing. And Swami, the helpful nature that he was, always wanting to inspire people, walked up to her and told her, stay centered in your spine. Of course, at that point, the lady didn't understand how a yogic philosophy will help her teach and learn skiing. Eventually, of course, Swami went about skiing as well, and after some time, he did cross that woman, and she waved out to him and told him, you know what, it works. What Swami was actually telling her was to stay in her inward self rather than looking at one step to be taken at a 40-degree angle and then the apparatus to be brought in forward. What he was trying to tell her, and which is true in the inner kingdom itself, that if we stay centered in our spine, in that inner kingdom, even our bodily movements become more rhythmic, become more natural. So rather than trying outside in, we are able to actually stay in ourselves and learn this new sport in this case. There's also this very, very inspirational story of our master, Paramhans Yogananda ji. So the story goes like, master asked an artist, a very renowned artist, to do a painting of his guru's guru, Lahiri Mahashaya ji. This painter started and completed the painting. Master looked at that painting and he asked this artist, so how long have you been practicing this art? And he said, for nearly 20 years. And Master just smiled, didn't mean to ridicule, but he told him, oh, really? It took you 20 years to realize you could paint. And Master really did not really like that painting, because he said, while it was done beautifully, it lacked that essence of a spiritual man being depicted in the painting, which of course we know Lahiri Mahashaya himself was. So this artist, of course, did not like the way Master asked him that question of 20 years to know that he could paint. Told Master, if you could do that in double that time, I will be very impressed. And Master, not in a sense of pride, but in a sense of belief, told him that he could try to do that in 1 week. So he started off. And of course, the artist did not like it, and he walked away. So Master started off. He tried first time, he did not like it, he scrapped it, he started again, he tried again, it did not come out to his liking, so he removed it. And then just as 1 week was approaching, what he did was told himself that he was a painter. He attuned to the consciousness of a painter, then picked up his brushes and completed that painting. Once it was completed, the artist also came by, and he hid somewhere and took a look at the painting that Master had done, and did admit that it was much better than what he had done with 20 years of practice. What had Master done that the painter didn't? Attuned to the consciousness of a painter, attuned to his inner self, centered in his spine, and then, of course, kept persuading. So there are many such stories, and there's also this beautiful story of our Swami, who was trying to learn Greek and kept trying and trying, but till the last day, he told himself, no, now I am Greek. And then actually he was able to learn that language. So through many of these stories, what do they all tell us? That living in our inner self, living centered in our spines, miracles can happen. Unfortunately, many of us tend to find solutions in the outer world. Let me change that job and then I will be happy. But instead, if we try to change our inner self, if we magnetize our spine through the techniques that we have, more changes will start to happen, and these miracles will start to happen in our outward life as well. So this is what the inner kingdom is all about, right? About staying centered. Yes, the person could have learned skiing, one could learn painting or learn Greek. It would take a really long time. It would take years and years. And even then, the painting wouldn't be as perfect as it was from Master, who did it from inside out. Instead, what we could all choose to do is to change our life by simply living inside out rather than outside in. Thank you. And I'd now like to invite Acharya Amit to share the inspiration.
Thank you, Praneeta. Very beautiful thoughts, very beautiful topic, and in fact, very important topic as well. And I'm happy to be here with both our Gurgaon Guru Bhais and Noida Guru Bhais. And this particular topic, I think we did a workshop in Gurgaon also at some point in time. Inner kingdom, when we talk about, it's a kingdom. So who is the king of this kingdom, or a queen, I may say, whichever one you want to choose. We always say it's my inner kingdom. Better I be the king or queen of it, isn't it? And that's what I want to really talk a little bit about. And in fact, all this, Yogananda ji had given a metaphor in his book, God Talks to Arjuna. And I think Abhishek and then some brave souls from Noida attempted to do a book study around that book. So especially the allegory part, I had found very important and very helpful to actually, as we explore this inner kingdom. If it is my kingdom, I might as well know my people better, isn't it? Who are the citizens of my kingdom? Who are the notorious characters in my kingdom? So that I can make a judicious call and then keep my kingdom in peace and harmony as much as I can. But that is sort of as a king or a queen is our job. And that allegory sort of helps a lot in realizing or actually discovering our kingdom. Before we go, I'll talk a little bit more about that in time. But Yogananda ji also had said, if you remember, no? He said, I have killed Yogananda a long time ago. And he invited, in fact, he didn't say, as he said, like he invited all his disciples also to do the same so that we could become a more pure channel. Now think about for a moment, if we're all locked into the room with that sentence and that instruction from our guru that I have killed Yogananda a long time ago, now it's your turn. Like I have to be locked in and say, I have to kill Amit. And I come out as a pure vessel. So what all will I be killing? Eradicating, if kill is a big word, from something which is not me. I need to remove. These are the obstacles. And to remove those, sometimes we need to know, okay, what is there inside? We sit for meditation, and then we, as Praneeta is saying, like many a times we sit with our phones, but also many times we sit with all the citizens, and then there are a lot of commotion, a lot of turbulence, a lot of restlessness is there. And we don't like it and it says, oh, go away. But then we keep sitting, and in that sitting, we also get to know more and more what is happening inside. In that allegory, again, what Yogananda ji gave, rather than making it too dry, he sort of uses Mahabharata characters, and he says each of them represents a particular energy, and we can observe the occurrence of that energy from time to time. Simple thing, he uses the king material desire, who is the Duryodhana. And we all have desires, very worldly desires, and not all terribly bad, but we do have, and sometimes they come within ourselves, and we know these are simple energies that we can observe ourselves. We are going through a very fundamentally life-changing time, I would say, for last year or so, and many different things are getting pushed within ourselves. We can see the energy of fear coming at times, fear, energy of anxiety, and I do not want to label them as a good or bad. For the time being, for this exploration of inner kingdom, we just want to recognize their presence. You also will see they come, not difficult to recognize them, and then they go away. They're coming and going. But there's one particular energy talks about, which is a little tricky. And I think some of you probably know what I'm talking about. It is the energy of Bhishma. And Bhishma, in his allegory, represents ego. And in our path, we talk about ego as like we need to transcend the ego. And but what is ego? The way traditionally we understand ego, I can say that more in terms of like we want to look at it a little more deeply. I just want to look at that character a little bit more focused. We just sang a chant. Before the chant, we sang the invocation, and then Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam. In that, there is a line that comes, Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Satguru Tvam Namami. Trigunarahitam. The one which is beyond the three gunas. And which are the three gunas? So we know it is like a Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And in some ways, you can also look at our ego in context of those three gunas. Many a times when we talk even about ego, we're talking about mostly like the tamasic kind of an ego, where we look down to people. What do you know? I am the big man here. Listen to me. That kind of, or rather, a greedy person, like, oh, I want to hoard a lot of money. I won't give it to anyone. I want everything for myself. So this is like a tamasic level of ego. And many a times we are sort of satisfied, because I don't think any of us here suffers far too much by that particular ego. And then we say, yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm a generous person and whatnot. So tamasic ego isn't there. So we don't pay too much attention to that. But these two other, the little bit more, what do you say, refined versions of this same energy. Because you see, remember Bhishma, even if you watch the television series, the one who represented, he had a grandfather-like figure. He wasn't like a vicious villain kind of a character. He was a very wise, very sagely kind of appearance. And that's why the tamasic ego is not our trouble. As a devotee, as a practitioner, we don't need to worry about it. So what's a Rajasic ego look like? And you will see within yourself this presence of these words like, the Rajasic ego wants to do something out in the world for good sometimes, yes. Like I want to build a temple. I want to start a school. I want to start an NGO and all this. So don't associate yet the word, oh, but what is wrong with it? And absolutely there is nothing wrong. So we are talking about a refined version of ego. We'll come to why there is a problem with this or limitation. But this is, you will see this kind of energy or this kind of an urgency coming within yourself sometimes, isn't it? I have to do something. Now we see a lot of people suffering around me. There is an urge. I want to go and volunteer. All it is perfect. It is good. So when I'm saying this is Rajasic ego, it is not bad, but it is different. Now you see, it is not really worried about me and myself, but still it is, I want to participate something. Finally comes the third, the highest refinement of this, which is Sattvic ego, you may say. These are just words or categories. We just do it so that we can understand. And Sattvic ego is our devotee, or the way we say, I am. One of the self-definition we say very comfortingly these days is like, I am a devotee, or I am a truth seeker. And then what does that mean? I want to meditate. I want to find God. I want to experience all those that Master talks about. And then these are all very beautiful and wonderful goals to have. The problem is that, as the invocation says, what are we achieving for? We are achieving for the state of Trigunarahitam, not just the tamasic ego, which we have already transcended, but even those two levels needs to be transcended, because what our true reality is beyond these three states. You will see these energies coming and going. Even when we talk about I am a truth seeker, I'm not equally enthusiastic truth seeker every day, isn't it? Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I say, I am going to meditate. 2 hours gone past, wonderful. Goes 1 week, goes like that, and I'll say, I don't feel like today. Truth can wait. So the same enthusiasm, the same energy, that it is not lasting. So what is our true position then? We are beyond it. Just the way we are chanting, it is just behind the fringe of my mind. And that we can talk more in terms of like a pure awareness. When we sit, this is also a very good metaphor or a way to look at it. You know how the rockets launching happens? I don't know a lot about them, but a little bit. So the rocket, or let's say satellite launcher, that's what I meant. So satellite is actually placed on the top of a rocket, and then you launch the rocket. So rocket is the one sort of pushing the satellite. But at some point, that rocket needs to detach, so that now the satellite can go into that orbit. Our egos, both these Rajasic or Sattvic, man, saying like, I want to meditate. This one needs to actually be dropped at some point, so that the satellite, or we can experience that pure consciousness, pure state of where we are pure awareness. One very sincere devotee, one disciple, I would say, went to his guru, and said, Guruji, help me. I said, what happened? And Guruji knew that he is a very sincere student and is trying his best. And he looked at him and said, Guruji, tell me, I have been doing so much work, so much meditation, so much seva, everything I am doing that you're saying. When will I find enlightenment? So Guruji paused for a moment. He knew there is something in that student, and he knew about that student also very much. So he looked into his eyes and he says, you see, pay attention what I'm saying. So you will find enlightenment when you will disappear. And the students, as I said, he had been contemplating many of his guru's teachings and whatnot. And then he realized what he said. He said, this seeking out, seeking, what does the seeker, when we say I'm a truth seeker, there's sometimes a tendency to sort of postpone it. There is sort of also a tendency to create like a rosy picture, what it is going to look like. All this is fine, but what it is, the problem is it is postponing it. It is saying one day I will become enlightened, not now. What is our truest reality? In the inner kingdom, we explore only to realize this one thing. What we are looking for was always, always, always there. There is nothing is sitting in this body temple but God, and not now, not after 12 years, always. When Yogananda ji says, I killed Yogananda ji, killed every thought, every tendency which came in between this thought. And this thought is not just a mere thought, but it is our experience. And that's why we sit. Even when we sit and then we feel, oh, today was a good meditation, that's the time when none of these three entities, even the one who came there for meditation was absent, goes away. And just we experience that state of being pure awareness, not conditioned by anything happening outside, not biased towards what life is offering. Many a times, no, in English also, when we use this word, I am, and doing something, no? I am talking, or I am listening, I am drinking a chai, I am walking. The sense of I am comes first. We don't pay much attention to that because most of our attention is generally on the action or the activity. Walking, we're interested in that. But when we put our attention a little bit into the sense of who is actually walking, that brings us closeness, as Praneeta is talking again and again about, is brings us back to center. Meaning what? Where is our center? It's just our reality. We have to own every time we come back to that realization that we're walking with God. In fact, we are walking in God. That's the final and ultimate reality. If we choose and hang on to that reality and stop everything which is obstructing us or taking us out of this reality, we are in God. We are that pure, unconditioned awareness. And from there comes the verb. So I would say I am, there is a comma there. It's a, maybe English literature people won't agree to me, but we put a comma, a pause, so that that helps us establish ourselves first. I reclaim my kingdom. And then comes the action. And this is our practice. You see, with this understanding, now there could be an immediacy. There's something we could do it now, not just in future. When we explore our inner kingdom, what we try to do is find that place within ourselves which is not really conditioned by any of it. Many things, as I mentioned about these three versions of ego, you've seen them happen within you at times. They have happened and they went away at some time, but you have always been there. We prefer one version of ourselves over the other, but if we just drop those preferences, if we just release those preferences, so you were there and these other versions of you just kept on and going. All this drama in the larger umbrella of our own true presence, our own consciousness, our true reality, which is of pure, pure, pure being awareness. And this is what Praneeta is talking about again. This reading is talking about again and again, being in the center. Dr. Lewis saw the spiritual eye and it transformed his life. You see, if it is the sattvic ego, or if the practitioner is watching, then he or she would want to see it again and again. But Dr. Lewis, a wise devotee, will realize that there is something going on here. I'm not there just for experiences, but using that experience as a stepping stone to jump into that space of our true reality, unconditioned, pure awareness. Explore these thoughts when you sit not only in your meditation, but these days we have quite a bit of time just to be by ourselves. Whenever that opportunity comes, access that space now. That is the space where we can have a permanent, undefined, unconditioned solace, a place of refuge, a place of where we can actually rest. Home. We would do an arti now. I would request Praneeta to do the arti as I play the chant. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, 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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Arti from the Diya. And as we come to a conclusion this morning, let's share these vibrations, this energy that we feel with everyone, especially if you know anyone who is in need, bringing them into mind just for a moment. And let's chant Om 3 times as we send out these vibrations to all the souls and to souls in need everywhere. Om. 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 Divine Mother, may your love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken your love in all hearts. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all for joining this morning, and you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Amit, for the lovely inspiration.
Om.
Om.